And good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Trackside Live here at Berlin Raceway. Tyler Kuehl on the right, on the inside line, it's Nate Dreyer, and in the middle of this three-wide dumpster fire, it is the driver of the number 88 machine of the Tecton Super Late Models, Andrew Scheid, joining us this week. He'll be leading things off for us today. Don't worry, folks, we have another guest later on, top of the hour. Steve Needles from the Reveal the Hammer Outlaw Late Model Series will be joining us to cue up that big race this weekend. But we got to talk to a guy that's one of the mainstays that we have here every single week at Berlin when we see the super late models. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm excited to talk to you guys today and see what this is all about.
So, first of all, nice hot day we have here, and I had to make the joke that you're wearing pants. How are you surviving this kind of weather?
Well, I mean, I work outside all day, so I just headed home, took a shower, and felt cool enough to throw some pants on.
It's a bold strategy.
Yeah.
He expected to come and us talk about racing, but as you can tell, we don't do that here.
No, it's all about the fashion, and because unfortunately, whenever we have our weekly shows on Flow Racing, Nate, myself, Matt McKenzie, Ryan Peelan, Rick James, we have our same outfits. We all wear our Flow polos. We can't really compare each other's outfits and maybe our hairstyles, but you can't even tell that. But we are here to talk racing here, so just kind of tell the fans here how the season's been going for you. You got one win under your belt, a feature win a couple weeks back. Just how is the 88 car been feeling for you this year?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely started off struggling. The first two races, we were 8th and 9th, so not a great start to the season. We turned it around pretty quickly after that. Clicked off a win, second place at the Money, second to Carson. And then after that, you know, we've had a top 5, and last race was a 6th. Yeah. So we have a lot left to figure out and to dial in on the car, but I mean, we're getting closer every week.
Yeah,
so.
well, we're talking about that Money in the Bank second place finish, and again, you know, that came off of you led 75 straight laps the race before to win. Then you have the Money in the Bank performance that followed that up. You know, what does that mean for momentum to take a race like that where you have all of these big names in here? You have a car that's probably the class of the field outside of Hocevar's car in that race. You know, how much did that do in terms of finding that extra little bit? And, you know, maybe it's made it more frustrating the last couple of weeks if it's been 5th or 6th, but how big of a factor to have that sort of performance where you guys were one of the classes of the field against that level of competition?
No, that was really cool, you know, with it being our best finish in one of the big races, you know, either the Money or the Battle. That was awesome to do. But, I mean, the track conditions between those 2 weeks were very, very similar. It was pretty similar temperature outside. Track temp was pretty close. Really, we had pretty much the same setup that we won with in for the Money. And clearly it worked. But then, I mean, we tried to use, once again, pretty much the identical setup again the next week. And as we click into these summer months, it's just kind of heating up a little bit. Track temperature is getting hotter, and you know, now we're back on the hunt. So we're looking for the next step, looking for what we got to do next.
You know, it's funny. Some drivers, some fans actually kind of joke with us because we become amateur meteorologists on the broadcast, trying to say, all right, well, the sun's coming down, and so on and so forth. But the track temp and the time of day does matter so much because for this past weekend, for example, you guys qualified at 5:30 under excruciatingly hot temperatures, and then all of a sudden you're racing while it's sundown probably about, 5 hours later. I mean, as a driver, you can set up one thing for quali, but then all of a sudden for the feature, you have almost a completely different racetrack.
Yeah, no, that qualifying in 81-degree weather, and then by the time we hit race time, I think it was like upper 60s.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big swing. So, I mean, obviously everybody was making changes for, you know, what we were expecting the track to do, which is free up as the temperatures drop. But us, for one, we did not tighten the car up enough. We were still a bit loose for the last race there, but, you know, it was one thing you're trying to consider the modified rubber and the temperature drop. You know, you had a couple variables that you didn't know exactly where you should be. You just kind of had a general idea. So we missed it a little bit, but I mean, we were still able to finish 6th and you know, salvage some points that night.
I think I talked to you before the night, and I don't know if you fully believe me when I'm like, you guys aren't hitting the track till no earlier than 10:30, and then like at like 9:45 or midway through the sportsman race, I'm like, I think it's going to be 10:30, and it was.
You hit me with the told you so. I figured we'd be on track by 9:30, but I mean, it was, you guys could attest to this. It was a little brutal
It
last
was
Saturday.
long. He can't. He wasn't here.
Well,
You weren't here?
I was
No.
I was watching from the comfort of my own home. Well, you have to remember, of course, we talked about it last week. That was not supposed to be the case, right? We were
Yep.
supposed to have the Midwest Modifieds earlier in the season, and then they added on to that. Let's just be happy they didn't try to add it on to this weekend with the Outlaw Late Models and all the other series, which we'll talk about a little later on. And, folks, if you are watching us on Facebook Live, if you have a question for our good friend Andrew Scheid here, feel free to throw it in the comments, and we'll ask the driver of that 88 machine if he has any good questions. I do got to ask you, Andrew, because people, for us, we see you guys in the pit roads all the time. But for the fans that don't quite see that, who are not maybe way up, that are not staring at the pits and they're, trying to follow the race, what does a driver do during that time? What do you sit there? Do you work on the car? Do you kind of chill? Do you try to stay cool when it's hot out like this? What do you do in that time between qualifying and maybe the feature races?
Yeah, well, it kind of depends on the driver. For me, we have a great crew, with Nick, Brad, Mike, and my dad. There's enough people for us that, I don't really have to work on the car on race days. So when it comes race day, I just do my job, which is drink water and drive the car, and fill my belly with food, and get ready for the race. As far as other drivers go, I see Brian Tillema. He works on his car quite a bit, even at the track. I think all of us drivers, for the most part, work on our cars at the shop too. But I mean, come race day, my case is I don't really have to touch the car on race day, so it depends on the driver.
Do you bring your own food, or do you get it from the concessions down there?
Actually, there's a little bit of a sandwich rotation going. So
Okay.
Nick, Brad, they'll switch between making sandwiches and turkey and ham. Pick your poison.
There you go.
What sort of when you're looking at the driver's role getting ready, the super late model class that we have in terms of our weekly runners, probably the most technologically advanced behind the scenes. And it's going to matter team to team. What sort of data do you have to break down? We hear all about that, the higher levels, where they're going on running, all this different sim data and different stuff. What sort of data are you looking at in between sessions, or is it just your own feel from what you had in the session, lap times, and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, we use Race Monitor a lot. We don't really use any data acquisition like some of the higher ups do. I mean, Race Monitor, driver feedback, lap times, that's just kind of the stuff that we look at. Nick and Brad have been standing on top of a trailer watching their car race for a long time, so they can get a really good idea of how the car's handling and what the car's doing just by watching. So as far as, things that we use to adjust off of, I mean, I would say mainly just the scale numbers.
Yeah, and kind of, off of that, you're talking about backgrounds and stuff and what you're feeling. I know you've got a pretty radically different background to, kind of closed top, tin top, big heavy stock cars. I think you've mentioned before you started more in the sprint car open wheel sort of rank. So I guess tell everyone that background and what that transition was like, moving from an open wheel car running, dirt running, that sort of background, then moving into a late model like you're in now.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I've been in an open wheel car like that, but
Bummer. We'd love to see it.
Yeah, right?
It'd be fun. No, I definitely remember the transition being pretty drastic. Sprint cars are 25 lap features, hammer down, up on the wheel. I mean, you're dive bombing, slide job, whatever you can do to gain a position. Then you hop in a late model, and it's a lot more strategic, slower. Drive with an egg under your foot, and real light on the wheel, real small adjustments. Where I mean, you're just sawing on the wheel in a sprint car. So I mean, as far as driving style, there's a huge difference. Handling is obviously very different. Dirt, asphalt, a wing sprint car, and a full fender stock car. So I mean, what wasn't different is kind of a better question.
Right.
I mean, everything was different.
I guess what led then to hopping in a late model? How did that transition come to be?
Yeah, so at the time, the car owner was Mike Blackmare.
Yep.
So we were running for him. I ran for Mike for 7 years.
Okay.
So at the time, I started in lightning sprints up at his track, Merritt Speedway. We ran a half season there just to kind of get acclimated, learn the car, learn the track, and after that we decided that we were going to run a full season for points there. Within those first 4 races that we ran, I ended up being able to click off my first win, and that made Mike real happy. And we ran a full season the next year, and I think it was like an 83% win rate that year.
That's not bad.
No, that was probably once in a lifetime.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
unless you're Josh Fry, who you remember a couple years ago in the mods. But anyways,
yeah, no, it was a pretty amazing season. I know we had 2 DNFs to start the season. We were having an electrical problem that it was actually something as small as the ignition switch was vibrating and shutting the car off.
I remember that with Mike Ordway a couple years ago with the super mods. He had a problem with the ignition. Like it's so minute, something like that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we looked at pretty much everything, but the ignition switch. I mean, why I don't know, but once we figured that out, we were able to start clicking off some wins, and it actually came down to the last race. We were running against Mark Erickson, and he was leading the points, and we pretty much had to win the race to win the championship, and we did. So it was, I mean, a once-in-a-lifetime season for us. And then after that, Mike was wanting to move into either 360 sprint cars, a dirt outlaw late model. Well, really, at the time, that was really his only 2 options. So we ended up going the dirt sprint car route, obviously, and we ran those for, I think, 4 years. And then after that, Mike bought out Bursley's operation, and, he just wanted to make the switch to the pavement cars. I mean, I don't know how much you guys know about Mike, but, I mean, he has a long background in pavement super late models, especially out here.
Yep,
so
Black Mirror used to own the track. Yep.
Yeah.
Down to
Yep.
it.
Yep. So that was kind of the direction that he wanted to go, and that's why I ended up in the seated one.
There you go.
No, it certainly is interesting. The other note we wanted to get to, and we've got, I mean, there's obviously so much to get to you, but normally a lot of times on these Wednesday nights, we've got the mini wedges out, and obviously we'll have them as part of our show on Saturday as well coming up, and you've got a pretty big role in one of those teams with JJ and Xander Yonker, who are the sons of Brad Yonker, one of your 2 co-owners on the car. I guess tell us first off, and we'll get more into that program, but kind of tell us about your involvement with those kids. It's their first year running, trying to get them up to speed and everything that's gone into that, because it's definitely cool, and it's also cool because their mini wedges have the exact same livery on them as what your super late does, so it's cool to see those cars out there.
Yeah, no, it's the mini wedge program has been a pretty cool journey so far. Just watching JJ and Xander progress has been really, really cool. Before their first race here, they only had, I think, 3 opportunities to even sit in the seat of one. We brought them out to a couple parking lots, set up cones, and I was on a little electric scooter. They'd follow me around, and then they'd go do their thing. And I mean, they both picked it up really, really fast. And with me, I can kind of consider JJ and Xander just more of like a friend, but for Brad, that's his kids, you know. So coming into the first race, Brad's pretty nervous, like how are they going to do, how are they going to line up, all these things, and I didn't really care because it's like, let's go have some fun. I mean, if they wreck it, whatever, we'll fix it.
You're not the one paying for it.
Well, somewhat, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's the mini wedge program is more of a 50-50.
Yeah.
I bought the first car
Right.
for that program, and the whole plan was to have them just rotate drivers and just go have fun. That was all I wanted to do, is just get them in the seat, because I mean, they're out here anytime we rent the track and practice. They're out here helping out, watching. They go to the shop all the time. They're here every race day. I mean, they just love it. So for me, I've always wanted to kind of give back to the racing community in any way that I could. And that was one small way that I thought, well, if I could own a mini wedge and get a couple kids driving a race car, what's better than that? So Brad obviously is a huge fan of racing, and really wanted to see both of them in a car every week rather than rotating through. So he ended up buying another car and was like, if I buy one, will you maintain it? Heck yeah. So we've got 2 mini wedges, and that's kind of how that came about.
I was about to say that they're both racing in the juniors division, and the mini wedge, since it started and since I started working here, it's changed so much, and car counts changed, the type of cars changed. What from going from, obviously it's a completely different car. I think I don't need to preface that, but is it harder to work on your super late model or a mini wedge? Or maybe what are the differences that you look at? Like, what are the challenges, I guess, from switching from car to car?
Well, I would say, as far as the mini wedge goes, we don't even scale those things.
That's true. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, we know that they're without any lead in the car, they're above the minimum weight, and that's all we really need to know. So, we can't move lead around and try and get some extra left side weight. Like, we're already overweight. So, they're a lot more simple than super late. No suspension, obviously.
You see those things bounce when they hit that curve down there.
Yeah. So, there's so much different between the two. But, a super late model is obviously just on that next level of technology. And, you add in just 4 shocks is all you need to add in to really step up the game.
There you go.
Yeah, obviously, we've kind of changed our broadcast format on the mini wedges the last race or two, and we've had, like, I'm calling it down there. Ryan's trying to get victory lane interviews, which work at different levels based on what kid we're talking to. So when one of those kids or both make their trip to victory lane, we certainly will be ready for them. If you want to grab a mic and call it too, we'll have a mic down there for you. So you can throw on your broadcast hat and take our job at that, because you'll probably be better than us at that too, along with driving race cars. So
I really think that one of those two are going to end up in victory lane here soon.
Cool.
JJ had a really good race a few weeks ago. He was leading every lap up until his right rear tire fell off. Broke a couple studs on the hub, and off goes the wheel. Xander has had quite a few really good races, a couple runner-ups, 3rd place. They're both just, they've exceeded any expectation that Brad or I have set for them. My only goal is for them to have fun. Obviously, I'll leave, the competitive side up to them. Do they want to win, or do they just want to go out there and have fun? That's up to them. Like I said, the only part I care about is the fun side of things. But both of those kids are just, they're competitors at heart. So, they're both really competitive. They're getting after it, and they're going to end up in victory lane here soon.
I got one for me and then one for Greg Burkhardt. We'll get his question in a second, but I want to go back to that beginning, for them, for JJ and Xander, to get that love of racing. Where did that come from for you?
Oh,
I noticed the Dale Earnhardt shirt, so I know you're not just racing must look cool, I'll try it out. But you're a fan, obviously.
Well, let's put it this way. The day I was brought home from the hospital, obviously this wasn't my doing. I was too young to do anything. The day I was brought home from the hospital, my dad put me in my little Dale Jr. onesie, and it was actually the day of the Daytona 500 in 2004. Oh. And Dale Jr. went on to win that Daytona 500. So the day I was brought home from the hospital, I slept on my dad's chest while he sat on the couch and watched the Daytona 500. So
the fact that that's a race that I remember watching, I'm struggling right now. Well, I really wish you didn't tell that story.
I was about to say I think I was I was born the week after the 95, but I was old enough to remember Dale Sr.'s 98 win, which makes me feel, once again, incredibly old.
You got me at least still barely, so that's why I have to keep you around. Is you at least, when we bring someone like him in, you at least still have
I knew we brought
3
Andrew
years
in.
on me.
We brought Andrew in. I'm like, he's going to say something like it was Dale Jr. something. It wasn't because Dale Sr. or Dale Jarrett. Well, actually, we'll get to Greg's one more. I have this one question. Why 88?
Why 88? Actually, that is not even my choice. That's just Nick and Brad's car number. Okay. I know that Brad's dad, he used to race, and he used number 66 for a while. He used 88 for a while, and I think that's just kind of a number that both Nick and Brad liked.
88 was a good number to have. Mike Eddy, the former ASA driver, won a lot here in that 88 Goodwrench car. Question from Greg Burkhardt. Do you find Berlin a tricky track to race? I think I know the answer, but I'm going to let you describe it.
Yeah, my first year in a super late model running for Mike Blackmare. We ran the full CRA Jegs Tour, and I got to experience many different tracks. Killcare, which has who knows how many turns. I mean, probably 16.
Right.
You have Salem, Nashville, IRP. We went down to Pensacola and ran Five Flags. I got to experience a lot of different tracks, and none of them quite compare to Berlin. Berlin is just tricky when it comes to how sensitive it is to, I would say, outside temperature, sunshine. When it gets slick, I mean, you're white knuckling that wheel and just hold on.
Can't
you
just
got to
chill
work
back
at
like,
it.
all right, we got 10 laps to go in this thing.
Yeah, it's not Nashville where you got a real long straightaway and you just you could open a book and read it down the backstretch before you turn into turn 3. But it's a unique beast. No one turn is the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, they're all different. You have to drive them differently. Your throttle pickup point is different. Your wheel input's different. Your lifting is different. I can drive it in way harder into turn 3 than I can turn 1, and I get a lot more of a straight drive off of 4 than I do turn 2, where it's you kind of right on that bump out of 2. You want to have your left front either just barely hit it or just above it, and you get a nice straight shot to the apex of the straightaway. But out of 4, you kind of diamond that turn 3 and 4 to get a nice straight run down by that inside wall and point you towards the start-finish line. But it's just a very unique track.
Jason Scheid, I assume a relative of yours, said that your great grandfather raced in Berlin in the 50s. I did not know that.
I don't know if I knew that.
Well, look at
There
that.
you go.
We are learning things. See, folks, Trackside Live. It's educational television. Get your kids to watch it. That's pretty cool that your lineage dates back. I mean, mine goes back to the early 90s whenever Dave Lake, I had friends and stuff like that. But, yeah, that's pretty neat. Look at that. 75 years of celebrating racing, and we're teaching the young folk. Look at us, Nate.
Look at it.
That's right.
We're helping out the next generation. Andrew, you have been super generous with your time, man. We're not going to see you this Saturday in the Outlaw Late Models, but we'll see you by the track for the mini wedges, of course. Remember, folks, mini wedges have 2 championships this year, a Saturday and a Wednesday. They're off this week. That's why Andrew's here. But they'll be back out, so next time they come out, come join us for the Trackside Live show, then go watch them race on the Wednesday night at the mini wedge track here at Berlin. Andrew, thanks for stopping by today.
No, thank you guys very much for having me on the show. It was a great time, and obviously I got to learn something new. So
Look at that. You teach us, we teach, Jason taught you. There you go.
Yeah, fair enough.
We'll take a break, folks. When we come back, Steve Needles, Reveal the Hammer Outlaw late model driver, will be joining us to get ready for this Saturday's race. But for now, Andrew, thanks again, and enjoy the drive back home, and wear some shorts, yay? Don't
Maybe.
We don't want you passing out here in these 95-degree days.
Yeah, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
We'll come back. More Trackside Live. And welcome back, folks, here to Trackside Live here at Berlin Raceway. Once again, huge thank you to Andrew Scheid, super late model driver. We'll see him super mod weekend on the track, at least. Like we said, we'll see him at the mini wedge pits. But right now, we're going to look ahead to this Saturday, Reveal the Hammer Outlaw Series, the second of 3 visits. And on the phone with us today is a guy that you know very well, Steve Needles out of Berrien Springs. He's right now at a racetrack. Who would have thought? Testing out here. Steve, how you doing today?
Oh, we're doing all right. We're beating the heat a little bit, but any day at the racetrack is better than a day in the office or in the shop, I guess, in my case.
I agree 100%. What track you at right now?
I'm down in southeastern Ohio at Midvale Speedway.
Oh, there you go.
We're pretty close to West Virginia.
Well, I do got to ask, before we look at this weekend, you mentioned to me that you were nervous that you weren't even going to race, Steve, because of what happened at Whitmore. Kind of take us through what happened there and the workload you had to get through to put your 14 machine back together.
Yeah, so we had some unfortunate circumstances there. A large part of it was driver-induced. Hung a right rear off the backstretch there and went for a little bit of a ride, and we tore. Luckily, damage wasn't as bad as we initially thought it could have been. And once we got home, did some damage assessment. We had a couple little bolt-on pieces and a whole lot of body work. But yeah, it's coming back together. Dad's back at the shop tonight while I'm out lollygagging here at the racetrack. He's back at the shop working, trying to get things back together. So we're looking pretty good, I think, for Saturday as of right now. Friday night's going to be a little bit of a late night, but we should be good to go.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And obviously we have 3 Reveal the Hammer weekends here this year at Berlin, but this is always one of our most popular weekends of the year for good reason. I mean, these cars are so powerful, big sticky tires, extra aero. They're just so awesome to see. We also know the challenge of this racetrack. You obviously have gone to victory lane here in the past multiple times. You're a champion of the series several times over. Describe some of what is the unique challenge of these outlaw cars on a racetrack like Berlin that already is so technical on its own, now adding that amount of power and grip.
Yeah, so we don't race anywhere else that's really like Berlin. Berlin's pretty unique in its own right, and we don't race there as much as we used to, and it presents some challenges. It's a fast racetrack. It's got a ton of character. It's oddly shaped. It's abrasive. Doesn't take a lot of horsepower. So you got to really be on your game. I mean, it's a super technical racetrack, which, I love that about it. It's not just a hammer down horsepower kind of place. Like you gotta make sure your race car's right. You got to make sure your head's right because you're going really fast and you got to take care of your equipment. So, it's one of my favorite racetracks. I love Berlin just because of that aspect of it, and it is challenging.
What about, because we're looking at another warm, I'm putting it mildly, a warm Saturday night coming up here at Berlin. As a driver, and who knows these outlaw machines so well, Steve, what is the quote-unquote perfect day for an outlaw car? What time of day, what time of year? I'm curious because I think for fans, we love when it's hot and slick, but I think from a driver's in the driver's seat, it might be a little different.
Well, I'll tell you, the most fun time to be in an outlaw car at Berlin is early spring when it's probably about 55, 60 degrees. Sun's shining, but the air is cool. The track's pretty cool. It's got, for whatever reason, Berlin seems to always have a ton of grip in the spring. And it's fun. You get flying around there and you get down in the 14-second bracket and, you can just really throw the car around there. It's just a ton of fun. It gets hot and slick in the summer and it presents, it's a completely different racetrack. It's fun in its own right, but it's much more challenging and probably a little less fun to drive in the summertime when it's blazing hot.
For sure. And then add on to that also, we have 75 laps coming up on Saturday, 15 laps more than what we had back in May with really cool conditions as well. So what more of a factor in terms of, that balance of tire saving, managing the race, do you have to add on with that extra 50 laps when you consider 95 degrees plus 15 extra laps on this abrasive racetrack?
Yeah, it's certainly going to be more of a tire management game. 60 laps, you can run pretty hard for 60 laps there, even as abrasive as it is, but we start getting over that and it's certainly tire management will be a factor. you'll see a few comers and goers, most likely, I would say. So, the guys that have more experience there are going to be at a bit of an advantage from that aspect.
What about? I want to kind of go back here to the series as a whole, the Via the Hammer Outlaw Series, Steve, a series that you've won 3 times now, and of course, with coming to Berlin with the series, you've managed to win a couple of big races. What is it about this series that has worked? I mean, I know you've raced other series before that have traveled through here to Berlin. Obviously, you've ran the Kalamazoo Clash event you've won 3 times in the past, but what makes this series so appealing for drivers, not just from West Michigan and the Southwest Michigan area, but also kind of all around the Midwest?
Well, they make it easy. They make it easy to come race. The race is financially, it makes sense because they pay well.
That always helps.
Yeah, I mean, that helps, right? And a lot of that's due to the racetracks. I mean, they do a great job as a series of putting out a minimum per se that in order to get them to show up, they've got to meet a minimum, which makes it a little easier on our part. But they make it easy to come race. We can buy our tires during the week. We can have them mounted and bring them to the racetrack. We don't have to jump through hoops. We don't have a ton of tech. They've got some basic things that they check, week in and week out, and then they'll throw in a couple other things here and there just to keep everybody honest. But they make it easy. They make it fun. It's just a fun race, a fun series to come race. The guys that run it have been around forever, and they understand that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be doing this if we're not having any fun. So we got to make it fun. We got to have it make sense financially, and they've done a really good job of doing that.
Exactly. And on top of that, describe the competitiveness, how tough it is to win in this series. I mean, you've got the Bozels, Tyler Rohrig, Adam Terry, Brian Bergaker, yourself, and a ton of other names I'm missing. I mean, the competition as well. This is about as probably difficult of a circuit as you can choose an outlaw to try to win in.
Yeah, it's really tough to win. I mean, we're all working on a razor's edge here on these cars these days, and right now Tyler Rohrig's got the hot hand. I mean, he's always really, really good, and he's really got the hot hand right now, kind of kicking our butts. But that could change. That could somebody else could hit on a few things and get rolling again too. So there's a lot of people with a ton of experience, a lot of drivers and crew guys with a ton of experience that have been around forever and seen and done a lot of things, and it makes it difficult. It's a tough series. You don't see too many people coming in that don't run outlaws and coming in and competing for wins, right off the bat.
And you mentioned a guy too. We're just seeing Kyle Crump once again in the Brighton, a guy that's won some huge races here in the super late model scene, the template scene. I want to go a little bit off the path here, Steve, and I know I do that a lot on this program.
It's okay.
But we are obviously a Berlin show, but I do got to ask you about the Kalamazoo Clash. Nate, I know you've been there before. I've been able to watch a couple of them. And kind of explain, being from Southwest Michigan, going to Kalamazoo a lot, because we have the Battle at Berlin, the Money in the Bank, all of our premier races. What does the Clash mean to the fans at Kalamazoo Speedway and the drivers as well?
Well, I would say that for most of the guys that are racing outlaw cars, that's our Super Bowl, if you want to call it. It's our big show. It doesn't necessarily pay the most, but it carries the most weight, as far as on a resume. You win a Kalamazoo Clash and it's instant credibility. So I think and it's still that way. We've gone through some lean years at the Clash, but the heat always shows up there. It's really a test. It's a hard race to win. My goodness, is it a hard race to win? It's been so challenging for us. We've been fortunate enough to be able to win the thing 3 times, but man, it's tough. Everything's got to kind of fall your way. We've lost a ton of them on. I don't want to say we've lost a ton of them on, but we've fallen out of more of them than I think we've finished, and it's just a tough race. It's like Kalamazoo's a hard place to get around in its own right, and that Clash is just that's the Daytona 500 for us in outlaw cars.
Yeah, and taking it back, speaking of tough races and kind of bringing it together back to Berlin, this race here on Saturday, you mentioned, and we hear often how tricky and technical, this racetrack is, and this is somewhat along the lines of kind of how we open, but what are some of the non-negotiables when you're setting up a race car for this racetrack? What are some of the things that are really important for the car to be able to do, to be able to, A, create lap time, create pace, and then also have a car that can make it a full 75 laps?
Well, you gotta go back to the fundamentals. The fundamentals of the race car. You got to have all four tires pointing the same direction. You can't have stuff cattywampus or out of whack. You got to make sure that your four tires are working together. For one main goal. I mean, the biggest thing at Berlin. I mean, it's the most important thing at every racetrack we run at. But because of Berlin and how abrasive it is and how much tire heat and that you create, I mean, it's even amplified there. So, keeping your tires happy, not overpowering the racetrack. Making sure everything's in line and pointed in the right direction. And then, aero is a big deal in these cars too. Making sure your body's right and stacking as much air on the thing as you can is super important.
Well, last one here for me, Steve, before we let you go, get back to some testing down there at Midvale. Just what are you expecting out of this weekend? I know it's been kind of a tough start to the Reveal the Hammer season for you here, but what are you kind of looking forward to in this race?
Well, we're looking forward to getting back to Berlin, number one.
That's a good plug. Good plug, Steve. Thanks.
Yeah, I just love Berlin. If it were, there's only a couple places I'd work this hard to get back to, in a short week, but and Berlin's at the top of that list. So we want to get back. We want to support it. We want to make sure we support all the fans up there, in West Michigan. And but no, I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent here, and I forgot what the question was.
How do you feel going into this race? Obviously, you've got some work to do, but just getting ready for a nice event.
Yeah, we just want to come out of there with a good showing. Obviously, we're tied in with Seneca Performance, and we want to have a good showing for them and for us. It's kind of our home track, so to speak. So we want to come out swinging. We want to come out with a good car and make sure that we're running well and doing well. But the way our season's going, we need to kind of make sure we're just finishing races at this point. So if we can come out of there challenging for a win and giving ourselves a chance to win at the end of the night, it'll be a real good night for us.
Sounds like a good night indeed. If you can get home victory lane, go talk to Nate there on Saturday on the Flow Racing broadcast. We've been chatting here on Trackside Live with Reveal the Hammer Outlaw Series driver Steve Needles. Steve, thanks for taking the time tonight, and enjoy the rest of the time at Midvale, and we'll see you Saturday here at Berlin.
Thank you guys for having me, and looking forward to seeing you this weekend.
We'll take a break, folks. When we come back, we'll wrap things up here from Berlin and get you ready for this weekend's action here on Trackside Live. And back here, folks. Thanks for taking a quick pause with us here on Trackside Live. Ty Kuhl, Nate Dreyer. A couple good guests we had there, Nate. We had Andrew Scheid to start off the show. And, of course, we just had Steve Needles, a guy who had some good runs here before, had some tough breaks so far this season, Reveal the Hammer Outlaw Series. But that is the main event this Saturday, a packed house. Typically, we've had the super late models on the 4th of July weekend, but we're giving them the week off for the Outlaws. We got the Outlaws, limited late models, the model cover our limited late models, Baker Auto Group Sportsman Series, the Auto Value 4 cylinders, the Good Humor Mini Wedges, and a Partridge and a Pear Tree. It's going to be a fun night.
It certainly is. And obviously, we know it's going to be hot, but it's been hot the last few weeks. We're in a stretch of it, by the way. We're going to talk about the supermods and stuff more, but if there's just one absolute can't-miss night when you're circling, especially our Saturday night programs, I mean, this 4th of July celebration on Saturday night is is going to be one of the best. Again, the 26 Outlaws from the Reveal the Hammer series, all of their heavy hitters are going to be here and putting on a show, seeing if someone can knock off Tyler Rohrig after he had such a great performance back in May. Obviously, you
last
mentioned
year as well. Yep.
Yes, last year. The night ends with fireworks as well, so it is. We're gonna have fireworks on and off the track, to use the oldest broadcasting trope in the book.
Are we gonna shoot fireworks off the cars? Because that would be awesome.
I think that's a good idea.
That's a terrible idea. I mean, for us it'd be a fun idea. For the drivers, probably terrifying. But we should have asked Steve on that.
Yeah,
we had to
right.
ask him racing questions, not dumb questions like, "Hey, do you want to shoot a firework off your car while you're coming out of turn 4? Just scare the driver behind you like it's Mario Kart."
I'll leave a flyover to start the night, too.
Yes.
So we've got everything ready for you to roll on Saturday night.
And also, we got a lot of great discounts going on. Kids, of course, 15 and under are free. Seniors, 65 and up are free. Military with ID and veterans free this weekend as well. And also a discounted price. Midnight, Friday night, $11.59. You can get a discounted ticket for this Saturday night's big race. So lots of good stuff coming out. Of course, we had Sushi Bar performing on Saturday night as well to wrap the night up after the fireworks and the great show that they can put on there. Can't wait for the big fireball and the big fire torches they have. That's going to shake the entire press box. So a lot of great stuff there. Also, we got to mention this too. Every single week, there's stuff being given away here at Berlin Raceway. Not just the fact that we're going to be giving you great racing and great content. Obviously, we're not a part of that because we're on Flow Racing. Unless you have your scanner, 488.9, that's the scanner if you want to listen to some excellent commentary and more stuff of that nature. I forgot to mention this with Andrew. We're giving away a mini wedge this year.
Yes.
End of the season.
It's right there.
It's right next to us here. We can't turn. I mean, can you turn the? I don't know if we can.
Actually, hang on.
Can we turn the camera?
This is.
Can
Folks,
we use technology?
We're live producing.
Look at this. So you go down. Yep, we're at the bar right there. Look at that. The nice red from Auto Body Experts, presented by a new mini wedge. The cost of that mini wedge, $7,500. You can get it if you enter the drawing. End of the season, we're going to give that thing away, and you can get your kid an opportunity to race here at Berlin Raceway. We're also giving away a golf cart, a Jeff Striegel-driven golf cart. Maybe we'll make him sign it at the end of the year.
That's what I was going to say.
I was going to say, we'll make him sign it. Former MRN voice, Jeff Striegel. Kids quad as well, and a 125cc dirt bike. That's right over there. We can't turn.
We can't go that far now.
But that's all being given away by Impact Power Sports, helping out there. Also, a diamond necklace is going to be given out by Scott Sports Cards, Coins and Jewelry. Now, if that sounds familiar, well, that's because that is Scott Hocevar, who is the father of one Carson Hocevar. So Nate's
has he won here before?
A few.
Okay.
He's also
he's
won a couple of truck NASCAR races. He's come close. He got screwed earlier in the year, but we don't need to get into yellow flag stuff like that. But Nate, lots of great stuff every single week here at Berlin for fans.
Oh, absolutely. And again, you need to all be here for this race. We're going to do some kind of quick competition stuff in a minute as well, looking at the last week and so forth. But everything coming up. You need to be here this week for the Outlaws, but the Supermods coming up July 11 and 12, the only place where you can see the ISMA Big Block Supermods coming from the East Coast. It's presented by Berger Chevrolet, Ordway, McVetta, Schulich, Edwards, Sidderly. They're all on the list. They're all coming back. 2 complete shows. They run 40 laps on Friday night, along with the Super Late Mods and the Sportsmen, or the Super Late Models and the Sportsmen.
See, I'm not the only person that has a problem with getting Super Late Models out and Outlaw Late Models out 100 times over.
And then Saturday, 75 laps, $10,000 to win to end the Great Lakes Classic. So that all coming up. 2-day general admission ticket, just $30 online through this Sunday to get both days. Let's pack the track. It's one of my, obviously our big shows, our Wednesday shows, always the best of the year for me in terms of the names and the competition. But if you're talking about an entire weekend of racing, that Supermod show, great. The Outlaws this weekend are probably 1 and 2 right up there, and then, packed with the 500 Sprint Car Tour and more coming up the weeks right after.
And then the Battle at Berlin's coming up in August, too. I mean, just so much great action going on here at Berlin Raceway. And let's quickly finish up here by taking a look at what is going on at the track here at Berlin Raceway. We have some great battles going on for our local track championships. That's something that we love to talk about here. I want to start off with the Super Late Models there on your bottom left-hand corner. That is not a typo, folks. Nate Dreyer did not mess that up. That is a dead tie between Austin Hall and 4-time champion, track champion, Super Late Models, Brian Campbell. Now, for those that remember, last Saturday, Brian Campbell starts on the pole again, somehow. Goes wire to wire, 75 laps, green flag, wins the race. Austin Hall, though, was the fast qualifier. So, in the way the point system works, if you get fast qualifier, that counts as a feature win in a way. So, right now, that is why Campbell, who was second, is now tied with Austin Hall. that's exciting to see, the fact that we have a super late model championship. I know we probably could have asked Andrew Scheid about that, who finished second last year, but to see one that close right now is, at this point of the year, it could set up for an interesting couple months.
Oh, it certainly can. I mean, again, we've had 6 races, including the Money in the Bank 150, 6 different winners now. So we certainly have spread things out in super late models. Some of the other classes, maybe not quite the same, can be said. For the 4 cylinders, Justin Roloff's won both races. Last time out again, he's been able to stretch that points lead. Hunter Wiersma has snuck his way in there ahead of Chase Roloff's. The Sportsman, such a great battle. Josh Fry leading that championship, and Josh Fry leading the limited late model championship right now.
A little bit closer you see there for the limited late models. Tim Green, who's really good in qualifying, is giving him all the heck possible, but we talked to Fry about it. Unfortunately, I think Fry was trying to, where we don't know if he's going to do the double this week. We know he was trying to get an Outlaw car, but unfortunately it doesn't seem like that's going to happen for him this time around. But, man, if he can do it, it seems like he's going back and forth on it, but I think if we keep pestering him enough, he might try to do it. Just because we've never, like we said, it's been, I think we did the math, almost 60 years since someone's ever won 2 championships, and that was the early days of simply having pavement at Berlin Raceway. That Josh Fry could put his name with that. I mean, Corey Ensing unfortunately had a tough finish in the second race on Saturday.
There was some fireworks last week too.
Yeah, we had some fireworks, not like explosive fireworks, but some explosive tempers. But
it may get to the track. It may cross over into this week too. We'll see.
This Saturday, a couple of features for that series, double features for everyone except for the Reveal the Hammer Outlaws this Saturday, and of course when the Super Late Models come back for the Friday of the Supermod weekend, they will be racing single feature as well, we believe, for the 4th annual Great Lakes Classic. But Nate, boy, I mean, it's funny how we always say, oh, every week is a big week, but every week is a big week. It's hard for me. I mean, for us, it's fun because we get to talk about it, but this week is just going to be an exciting race. You see the qualifying starts at 6 o'clock, 6:30. I know people are saying it's going to be hot, but right now we can go outside in the sun right now. We had a nice breeze. This track is synonymous with being a wind tunnel. I mean, outside of maybe the 30 minutes you're blinded by the sun if you're right on the front stretch, it's weather-wise a great track to be at compared to some other ones that I've been to where, and we talked about Road America for you, you're just under the sun and you're stuck there. At least Michigan, here at Berlin, the sun goes down. The trees that have grown over the last 100 years of being over here, they take away the sun. It's a good night to come racing and come watching racing because you're going to get your money's worth this week, that's for sure.
No, certainly will, and it's again, with all of this racing, it's a long enough night. We are going to go late in the night. We'll have the fireworks to wrap things up as well. So certainly make sure you join us here. We'll, of course, be on Flow, but, I mean, our Flow broadcasts can be caught on demand as well. So
yes.
You can see whatever insight we are able to give you or sometimes not give you if you tune into the broadcast some night based on some of our shenanigans that might be going on the air.
I'm curious because I know when you go to a NASCAR race, people can get like the receivers and stuff like that. I wonder how many people bring receivers to Berlin. Whenever I walk by, you don't see many people. Probably they don't want to put their earphones on when we're walking around like at 4:30. But I'm curious. Like I think that might be our question we'll pose to the fans next week that are watching us here on Facebook Live. How many people have scanners in the stands? Because I think it's a great way because then you can hear what's going on in real time. I love that when I go to NASCAR race. I like to know what the spotters are saying, if you can listen to them, what the broadcasters are saying, because you can only get so much when you're watching as a fan. Mm-hmm. Now, for some people, that is enough, obviously. But for nerds like you and I want to know how many tires Carson Osevar is taking. Is he taking 3 tires or is he taking 2? I need to know that stuff. But that's why I have you, of course.
Right.
That is your job.
That is my job.
You
That's
tell
right.
us, Matt and I, that up in the booth. But big weekend of racing, folks. 6:30, like we said, that is when the green flag will drop. 6 o'clock qualifying. Doors open at 4 o'clock, so you can come out here. And, of course, like we said, sushi roll, just long night of fun. Bring the kids out. Bring the earmuffs, of course, because track, especially those outlaw cars, those are some loud machines. So, yeah, Nate, we're just setting up for another fun weekend. And I will be watching. I will be home with the kid. My wife is on vacation right now, so I'm pulling the solo dad duty. I might bring him to the track. Who knows? We'll see. I mean, he loves race cars. If there's any good thing about a kid wanting to learn about racing, it's the fact that it's easy to learn the colors and numbers. He knows which one Johnny Benson is. That's the yellow 26. He's got a Dale Earnhardt Jr. 88 Hendrick Motorsports car. He knows that's the white 88. Maybe he'll probably like Andrew Scheid then if that's the case.
Yeah.
His white and orange 88 car. So that is it, folks. Nate, do you have anything you want to add here before we get going this Saturday?
I don't think so. Thanks again to both Steve and Andrew for coming on. Great interviews. And again, this is we keep adding some features and stuff to the show, including the interviews. We're gonna keep that going here to hopefully hype everyone up a little bit more, especially heading into next week with the super mods coming on the back end of wrapping up this Outlaw weekend.
Yeah, there are a lot of drivers are already driving out this way from the Northeast to get out here early, maybe get some extra practice for the Supermod week. So we'll keep you all informed on that. Be sure to follow Berlin Raceway on Facebook, on Twitter, wherever we're on social media, and we might even have these post up on YouTube here. So if you follow us on YouTube, you'll see these on demand as well every single day of your choosing, and twice on Sundays if you're really into that. For Nate Dreyer, I'm Tyler Kuehl. Thank you all very much for watching once again here on Facebook Live, Trackside Live. We'll see you next Wednesday, and you can also be out here on Saturday for the Reveal the Hammer Outlaw Series, the 4th of July celebration here at Berlin. We'll see you next time.